All right, welcome everybody to the Grand Forks City Council meeting for Monday, May 20th, 2024. If we get a roll call, please, Maureen.
Weigel.
Here.
Osowski.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Lensky.
Here.
Kafami.
Here.
Sandy.
Here.
And Veen.
Here.
All present.
All right, thank you. Item 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance, and I hear we have a special guest that's going to help lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today. So usually we'll say the pledge first, and then we'll have you guys come up to the mic and tell us a little bit about yourself. So. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's see, I can scoot over to the middle there.
You, Aflac, right? Yeah, Aflac.
Hello, my name is Jamie, and this is our troop, our cadets, 20641. And this school year, we worked on our journey, the Breathe Journey, and for that, they picked teachers from their classroom to get plants, and we delivered them last week to make the environment more comfy.
Hi, my name is Solveig. I go to South Middle School, and my favorite part about Girl Scouts is making new friends.
Hi, my name is Peyton. I go to South Middle School, and my favorite thing about Girl Scouts is probably the camps.
Hello, my name is Tia, and I go to South Middle School, and my favorite thing about Girl Scouts is connecting with our peers.
My name is Taylor. I go to Schrader Middle School, and my favorite part about Girl Scouts is exploring the wild.
Hi, my name is Tricia, and I am a co-leader for the troop. And this coming year, we're going to be working on our Silver Award to help something in the community to help better the community. Yeah.
All right, let's, well, first I got a question before we go around about who has the most patches out of the four that are here? Who's got the most credentials?
Oh, me.
All right. Well, let's give a round of applause at Troop 20641. Oh, it's cute. All right, that's it for item 1.2. Item 1.3, mayor's announcements, just a couple of announcements. Want to thank all those that attended the National Day of Prayer Breakfast last week. Mayor Gander and I have been rotating every other year. We're back on the east side this year, but another great event, so thank you for those that showed that were able to make it for that. And then I want to thank Pirio Berg for her selection as the Mayor's Choice Arts Award winner for the spring of 2024. Great exhibit. You can go down on the second floor there of City Hall and get to see some of her work. So a great event. And then just wanted to thank all those that helped put on the National Police Week ceremony last week in Optimist Park. Very well done. It's a pretty somber ceremony. It's a pretty somber event, but it's a very good place to do it there in Optimist Park with that Northern Valley Police Officers Memorial. It's really done well. I can thank Councilmember Kavami for being on that board as well. But just a really great event, so I want to thank everybody that participated. All right, that's it. And we'll move on to, for item 1, move on to item 2, awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations.
2.1 is a presentation of awards to the Finance Department, a Certificate of Achievement in Financial Reporting and Distinguished Budget Presentation Award.
Well, I feel like we're back every year. Just want to thank the Finance Department. If I got my math right, the Certificate of Achievement in Financial Reporting is 37 years in a row, and Distinguished Budget Presentation Award is the 17th year in a row. So several decades. So thank you, Ms. Storstad, and your entire team for continuing to knock it out the park every single year.
Yes, thank you. And I just wanted to get up here and thank all finance staff, but we do have a few key members here in the audience, Mike Vatnsdal, Candy Stern, and Josh, as well as Brittany here, taking minutes tonight, but all very valued, and you have a very good team. And like you said, it's been 17 years, it's hard to believe, consecutive on the budget award, and for the financial reporting, it's been a good 37-year. We plan to continue it. So thank you very much.
Let's give them a round of applause for the finance team. Thank you. And budget season is upon us, and I know it's a challenge every year, and we're in the thick of that already. So
Yes, we
I know
are.
it's the new B word around here, budget. But all right, thank you.
And 2.2 is a presentation, the library annual report.
All right, Mr. Sherwood and Ms. Wendt, please.
Mayor Rucinski, President Sandy, and Council, thank you for having us here. We are having the 2023 Annual Library Report. We have a short PowerPoint to show you and can answer any questions that you may have as you peruse the booklet. But if you take a look at the screens, you'll see some of the new graphic designs that are inherent in the remodel of the Children's Department up there with their Busy Bee and the sort of the outdoor nature theme. But how do I make it go forward? Do I just say, next slide, please?
Oh, I think he's got it over there. There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, sir. And I'm not going to read it to you, but you can just take a look and see, and all of it is also in the in the booklet as well. There we go. And this quote I will read because this is absolutely the truth with the library we have here in Grand Forks. The most important asset if any library goes home at night, it is the staff. We have an outstanding staff at the library that just does all kinds of things and redesigns, it reimagines, and brings new and exciting things to the community all the time, multiple times per year. Next slide, please. We have a couple entities that are very supportive of the Grand Forks Public, and the Friends of the Library. You can see the things that they have participated here in the last or in 2023, and that is a group of volunteers from the community that come together and have just been massively supportive about the endeavors that take place at the Grand Forks Library. The other one is on the next slide, and that is the Grand Forks Library Foundation. And the Library Foundation last year and also this year was very, very involved in the Giving Hearts Day campaign, and the mission for that was to be able to provide an outreach van for the library so that we can provide easier outreach to the community. In the past, they were using employee vehicles, and there was reimbursement and hassle. Now you probably have seen it about town. It's got a wonderful skin on it that has got the colors of the library. So we're very thankful to both the Friends and the Foundation for helping us acquire that outreach vehicle. And then noteworthy, I kick it over to Library Director Wendy Wendt to some of the noteworthy items that happened in 2023.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing us to be here today. So noteworthy in 2023, first of all, I want to say that we have an award-winning library, and we're very proud of that. First of all, and it's not on this list, but we were awarded the highest award that the state library gives out. It's Succeeding Library. Anyway, every year we wait to see, and we've gotten that award now for 3 years in a row. So that was exciting. Even more exciting, our children's librarian was named Librarian of the Year by the North Dakota State Library. And for those of you who've had kids that use the library, you know he's a great librarian and has had a lot of terrific programs. And then Dr. Laura Munsky plays a central role in our library and has since 2009 and prior. But really in 2009, she started working with Erin, and she's helped with all the STEM, robotics, scientific programs that we have. So she was nominated by our staff and other members of the community for the national I Partner with My Public Library Award, and was one of 5 winners. And we had a little award ceremony, so we're so proud of her, and she was pleased to be recognized too. I think this is interesting. These are just some of our stats, and it's just over the last few years. But you can see that in 2020, of course, everything tanked except for ebooks. Ebooks continued to increase, of course, and we continued to purchase ebooks. And so there was always something new. But what amazed me about this stat in this graph is that if you look following 2020 and COVID, almost all of our numbers are higher than they were in 2019. Children's books are circulating more than they ever have. Our ebooks just continue to increase enough that they're almost to the same rate that books are. So we are continuing to put more funds into the ebooks because people just really are using them a lot. The adult books is higher than it was. There's been a drop in DVDs, which I don't think any of us are surprised about with Netflix and all the other stuff. That is not a surprise. And eventually, I anticipate that will be a collection that is phased out from the library. Not yet, but it's on the horizon. Teen books increased, and that's a hard audience to reach. So that is a real accomplishment. And e-magazines, it's increasing. It's a small number, but it's increasing. And audiobooks also, well, it's staying kind of level, but I think that's a disappearing collection too. So anyway, but it's great to see that things increase so much. In 2023, we averaged 450 visits a day. Again, we're open 7 days a week, so that's an average across all of them. It's an 18% increase over the last year, and we had over 164,000 people come through the library. This I won't go into too much detail, but our online resource usage is not the strongest aspect of the library. I mean, it's still 150,000 uses, but Wi-Fi has been back and forth, mainly because we offered hotspots, Wi-Fi hotspots for checkout. So that changes how many people have to come in and use our Wi-Fi. And I'm thinking it went up in 2023 because many of our Wi-Fi hotspots got stolen. But we replenish to some extent. Technology use, again, people still come to the library for technology, but with the advent of all the things our phones can do, it's just increasing gradually. Library visitors is almost back to 2019 numbers, which is terrific. And I think it'll continue to increase because of our great programming that we offer. And this is just the budget information. The only thing I would point out is in 2022, it looks like we overspent, where revenue was $2.9 million, and it looks like we spent 3.3, but we transferred 500,000 over from our operating reserves over to our capital reserves to complete the children's remodel. So that wasn't an overspend on our operating. Any questions?
All right, any questions from Ms. Wendt or Mr. Sherwood?
Yes,
All
sir.
right, well, no, thank you for the nice
Yeah,
book.
absolutely.
This is pretty impressive.
I did it
little booklet,
myself.
so-
It didn't take that long.
Well
No, I did
done.
not. It was Angie Laxdal. She's our marketing person.
Oh, we were going to hire you, but
I
guess
know.
now it's her
Well, you can't
instead.
hire her because
All right.
we love her at the library.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Two 2.3, we have two proclamations, the American Legion Auxiliary Poppy Day, May 25th, and Officer Cody Holte End Watch, 4-year remembrance on May 27th.
All right, thank you. Poppy Day, American Legion Auxiliary, May 25th, 2024. Now therefore, I, Brandon Bochensky, Mayor of Grand Forks, North Dakota, do hereby proclaim Saturday, May 25th, 2024 as Poppy Day and asks that all citizens pay tribute to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of freedom by wearing the memorial poppy on this day. Then proclamation, Officer Cody N. Holte, end of watch, 4-year remembrance, May 27th, 2024. Whereas on May 27th, 2020, Grand Forks Police Officer Cody N. Holte responded to Grand Forks County Sheriff's deputies' calls for assistance after they had been fired upon by a heavily armed suspect within an apartment building. Whereas Police Officer Cody N. Holte entered the threat area to assist Grand Forks County Sheriff deputies and was struck multiple times by the suspect's gunfire. Whereas Police Officer Cody N. Holte was killed in the line of duty as he succumbed to his injuries on May 27, 2020. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Brandon Bochensky, Mayor of Grand Forks, North Dakota, call upon all Grand Forks City departments to lower their flags to half-staff on May 27th, 2024, in honor of Grand Forks Police Officer Cody N. Holte, who made the ultimate sacrifice in service of the city of Grand Forks, and let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen hero, Officer Cody N. Holte. Thank you. Item 3, public hearings and second readings of ordinances.
3.1 is public hearing and second reading of ordinance, and on behalf of the owner, we are requesting that these items, the public hearing and second reading, be postponed to June 3rd.
All right, is there any, so we would not be holding a public hearing. We're going to read notice, have another public hearing on this. Any further information we need to know at this time, Mr. Brooks?
Not at this time, Mayor. We're still working. We're working with the developer, trying to come up with some solutions, potentially changing the plat a bit. So we'll keep you guys informed on June 3rd.
All right, so I'd be looking for a motion to postpone. Got a motion to postpone until June 3rd. Do we have a second? Second, so motion from Ms. Osowski, second from Mr. Weigel. Seeing no further conversation, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
And 3.2, determination of protest relating to Project 8793, District 783, reconstruct Knight Drive, South Columbia Road to 400 feet east. No protests have been received by finance on this project.
All right, we'll open up the public hearing to receive any protests on item 3.2. Anyone here to speak on item 3.2? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing portion and open up to council.
I move approval.
Got a motion to approve from Mr. Veen, and a second from Ms. Osowski. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. That's it for item 3. We'll move on to item 4, citizen comments as they relate to action items. Any comments this evening? There are none. Moving on to 5, action items. Administration wants to pull 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3 as those did not get read in front of the committee of the whole. Any other items council wants pulled for further discussion?
515.
Mr. Veen or Mr. Weber, other than 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, and 5.15, any other items you'd like pulled for further discussion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, thank you.
All right, we're looking for approval then, items 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, 5.8, 5.9, 5.10, 5.11, 5.12, 5.13, 5.14, 5.16, 5.17, 5.18, and 5.19. If I get a motion to approve got a motion to approve from Ms. Osowski, a second from Mr. Kavami. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. So Ms. Storstad would be left with 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, and 5.15.
Right, 5.1, receive the annual actuarial report for the defined benefit pension plan and authorize payment of the employer contribution.
All right, and I don't know if anyone has any other comments. I mean, it's in good shape, definitely a good year on the pension. Were you planning on going over anything, or we're just looking for a motion to approve?
I can go over it. Maybe just a brief summary. I sent in an email to all of you. It was a good year for the pension plan. This is regarding the city's single employer defined benefit pension plan that was closed to employees back in January of 1996. We have 11 years of a 30-year amortization to fully fund the plan, but we did take 12.6% gain on the year, so it moved the market value assets from 76 million to 80.5, and the actuarial value of assets from 81.4 to 82.9 million for 80% funded ratio there. Just the difference between those two numbers is when we have gains and losses, just a reminder, we smooth those gains and losses over a 5-year period just to smooth that contribution. So what's being asked, other than to receive and file a report, is to approve the contribution. It was recommended, Pension Committee met last Monday by the actuary of about a $2.7 million payment. We have in the budget available just over $3 million, so our recommendation and the committee's recommendation to you is to pay the budgeted amount of the $3,041,110.
And I think
I'll
it's
move approval.
Okay, we got a motion to approve. We have a second. We got a second from Ms. Lunsky. Motion from Vice President Weber, second from Ms. Lunsky. I think it's, important to point out that this is really important to get paid off, not only for the employees that rely on this. This is a guarantee. This is a promise that the city of Grand Forks made to them. But this is a big budget item. This is $3 million overall, a little over two, somewhere between, around 2.3, 2.4 that comes out of the general fund directly. That's paying for obligations that were made in the past and was underfunded in the past. And now we've got to deal with it today and deal with it for 10 more years. So when you talk about a time to have, more room to raise wages or more room to cut mills, until we have something like this paid off, we're going to continue to see that, $2 to $2.5 million come out of our budget every year that we don't necessarily get anything for it other than paying off past obligations. So that's why I think we need to continue funding it. I don't want to pay it for the next 10 or 11 years. I'd love by the time that myself and a lot of others of us leave that's done. So the next group that sits up here has a $2.5 million or $3 million across all funds to work with, and their hands aren't as tied as we are today. So just wanted to point that out. And then I know Mr. Weigel's also on that committee if you had any other comments.
I agree with everything you said, Mr. Mayor. I'm ready to move forward.
Perfect. We got a motion to second. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
5.2, enrollment in the ND PERS 457 plan effective September 1st.
Ms. Bovet.
Good evening, Mayor Paczynski, Council President Sandy, members of the council. What you have before you is a request to join the ND PERS 457 Deferred Compensation Plan in order to offer that plan when necessary to new employees that will be required to join the ND PERS Defined Contribution Plan, starting with employees hired on or after 1/1/2025. If you look at this flow chart that is on the screen before you, you'll see that the ND PERS Defined Contribution Plan, effective 1/1/25, has mandatory employee contributions of 4% and a mandatory employer contribution of 5.26%. At the time of hire, so within the first 30 days, a new employee is able to decide on contributions to an additional 3% match into that defined contribution plan. If the employee decides to contribute 3% more, the city must match that additional contribution, and those are locked-in contributions that can never change. So that's the left side. Those are locked-in contributions. However, if an employee elects only to contribute that 4% into the defined contribution plan at the time of hire, then the employee can later choose to contribute that 3% into a deferred compensation plan, the ND PERS Deferred Compensation Plan, which would then be matched by the City of Grand Forks. For example, if an employee is hired in February of 2025 and elects only 4% into the defined contribution plan, the city would match 5.26% into that plan. defined contribution plan on that employee's behalf. And then say 2 years later, that employee decides that they would like to contribute more into a retirement plan. Those contributions would then go into the NDPERS deferred compensation plan. And the city would match those additional 3% into the NDPERS deferred compensation account. The employee could then change that percentage between 1% and 3% at any time, and the city's 1% and 3% would follow suit. Okay? So if the city does not enroll in the NDPERS 457 deferred compensation plan, then the employer's additional 3% match is optional if not elected by the employee at the time of hire. The city could follow the state's contribution match with the city's own deferred compensation 457 plan. However, the administration of doing so would be more cumbersome, and it would not be tied into the state system and available for viewing within the NDPERS employee or employer's portal. So there is not a cost to join the NDPERS 457 deferred compensation plan, and it would be beneficial to the HR staff if we did join the NDPERS 457 plan, if we could do that early to allow staff time to set up and familiarize themselves with the plan options and administration. So with that, I'm looking for the City Council to approve the resolution to join the NDPERS 457 plan and approve completion of the employer participation agreement effective September 1st, 2024.
Thank you, and I would point out the Pension Insurance Committee did also review this and have a recommendation as stated in the staff report. But any questions for Mr.
Move approval.
Motion approved for Mr. Weber, second from Ms. Osowski. Any further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
5.3, Master Planning and Traffic Study Services Task Order for Project 8824.3, Ultra Indoor Sports and Aquatics Complex.
Mayor Paczynski, members of the City Council, I was here last week, and we alluded to, as part of the Children's Museum update, that we would likely bring another option of an alternative site, being the Alaris Center site, intertwined with the Ultra Indoor Sports and Aquatics Center. And so what we have in front of you, we were going to move forward with the traffic study on behalf of the city. And so as part of that review, not only incorporate the traffic study with Bolton and Mank with the Indoor Sports and Aquatics Center, but also integrate the Children's Museum. We were also asking you to have Bolton and Mank extend their scope to do also a master plan in this area. And so this is obviously a very rudimentary concept, but we've worked with the Children's Museum team. They think it passes enough muster that we should look at this alternative strategy of incorporating this along with their South Washington facility. I think it makes a lot of sense. Right now, we're both in schematic design. I would anticipate by this year, August, we would have more finality about where the options are going to be. And both projects want to move forward with starting to bid and construct starting next spring, early summer. So we're really coming at a good time. The benefit of putting this onto our, we'll call it the Alaris Center complex, I think the major things that we could share is underground infrastructure, water, sewer, storm, from a stormwater perspective. Also integrate transportation, parking lots, and then also both facilities could share in the use of the Alaris Center parking. So I think that the main option with this is creating some more economies of scale on the infrastructure side. It is in a more visible location on I-29 next to the Alaris Center and this new indoor sports facility. So both teams thought it was valued enough merit to take a look at it. I would anticipate we'd be back here in August with the master plan, with the traffic study, and ultimately with a decision in partnership with the Children's Museum about where each facility should go. So what we're asking for today is to move forward with the traffic study, the master plan that would incorporate this in. We'd likely be back in July, August timeframe for some further decision making. And I want to recognize Ed Lieberman. The city of Grand Forks has taken on a lot of projects, and so Ed's taken this project over from an infrastructure, master planning, traffic engineering. So he's really going to support not only this Children's Museum concept, but he's also going going to lead that from an infrastructure master planning of the indoor sports and aquatic as we move forward. We also wanted to let you know this is the largest concept that we have for the indoor sports and aquatic, just to show what the largest size would be on this site. It includes the turf with the 300-meter track and some other track amenities. It includes the 4 basketball courts. It includes 8 pickleball courts, and then the 50-meter aquatic center. So I think the one thing that will likely stay the same from a size is the aquatic center. And I could see us looking through schematic design at the turf, and the track will likely, it might get reduced. Basketball courts, we're taking a value-added engineering approach on that, and also the pickleball. So, but I think the aquatic center is really, the footprint is what it is. So we want to make sure in this site plan that we keep the BMX track where it's at. We think it's in a good site, in a good place. So we're going to do everything we can not to disturb that facility from where it is. It shares parking. Current parking right here is the other advantage of keeping that where it's at. We already have a parking lot in this location. So with that, Mayor, we'd answer any questions. I got Ed by my side here for the details, but we'd like to get going sooner rather than later. So when schematic design is complete in August, we can bring back both the traffic study and also this master plan on this site.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out, it's just an option at this point, and trying to see if there's enough value in moving this here, creating more of an entertainment and sports district with the hotels nearby. There's a cost savings, then I think it should be looked at, and that's largely a piece of what we're trying to do here to make sure the traffic and everything else flows. But it's just an option at this point, but I think it's one that's worth taking a look at.
And I think, Mayor, I should also say, I think the Children's Museum, they're committed to their current site in Washington, but there's enough momentum to take a look at this site. Alter is an investor in both the Children's Museum and this indoor sports and aquatics, so they'd like to have it looked at too, because there's different options they could see at both sites too. So they're another kind of instigator or initiator of taking a look at this site too.
All right, any questions for Mr. Phelan? Ms. Osowski, please.
First off, I'm disappointed that this went right to council and not to Cal first. I've mentioned that multiple times. I don't like seeing things skip over. I guess I just have some concerns, not so much of like the location of the Children's Museum or anything, but like how, besides our $10 million, how much additional money are we going to keep putting into this? I mean, I'm assuming that, is it going to cost us extra to do this traffic study with the Children's Museum there? You just said that guy was going to spend, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, I apologize, that he was going to spend a bunch of time working on the Children's Museum. I mean, how many staff hours is the city of Grand Forks like putting into this? Do we own that land that is the new proposed site? I mean, like, are we putting ourselves on a path to spend more than $10 million, with our staffing hours, with this study and things like that, just for the Children's Museum? I thought that they were an independent nonprofit. I didn't realize that we were going to be doing all this additional work for them, including $10 million.
Mayor Buczynski and Councilmember Osowski. I think some of the savings, as I noted, there's going to be lots of infrastructure, so we're likely to share the infrastructure on this particular site. There would be some additional investment for the city, but it would also be a part.
How much additional?
That's what we're going to do, the master plan, just to take a look at how best to serve not only the indoor sports and aquatic center, but also incorporating the Children's Museum site into it. The great thing about Assistant City Engineer Ed Lieberman is that he's a salaried employee, so he doesn't get paid overtime. So we're asked him to, as part of what he works on, to incorporate this into his time on there. There are some additional costs if you want to look at that $92,000 agreement to do the master planning to incorporate the Children's Museum. There is an incremental cost to add them into that, but we think there might be overall savings for the community, and really some added benefit of incorporating the Children's Museum into this indoor sports, into this Alaris Center 42nd Street corridor. So there's some overall goodness I think we can do as part of this project with the Children's Museum.
I mean, regardless whether we take Mr. Lieberman's time, and he's a salaried employee, I mean, those are city hours though, and now he's spending his time working on this nonprofit, the infrastructure, I mean, those are still city dollars than the land. I just feel like this is getting to be way more than the $10 million that, you know, has been put into the budget. And so what did you say that the cost would be on this agreement if the children, on the traffic study, if the Children's Museum wasn't on it?
Oh, and do you know what the breakdown of just the master plan of that?
It's
Go ahead.
the quoted amount of 92,300 is a lump sum, so we don't have it broken out between traffic study and the master plan, but ballpark, it's probably roughly half and half.
So half of the $93,000 is like kind of for the museum?
I apologize, I misunderstood. Probably roughly half for the master plan, half for the traffic study. Those are just real rough estimates, but
So
the amount of
$93,000 divided by 2, I mean, so we're putting in another $45,000 into this Children's Museum?
I don't think it's into the Children's Museum, Councilmember Osowski. We were always going to master plan this site to make sure our utilities, I think the urgency of this is that if we are going to incorporate the Children's Museum onto the site that we already own, we own this entire site right here. If we are going to do that, we want to make sure we master plan both facilities with the utilities, with the parking lots, with the transportation infrastructure. And so they're an incremental amount. So if Mr. Lieberman says half of that 92,000 is for master planning, an incremental amount of that half for the master planning, we are going to have to take a look at the Children's Museum and how does it interplay from a master planning perspective, from a utilities.
I mean, is the Children's Museum going to pick up any of this?
Right now, we're proposing that the city would lead this effort of master planning the site that we own and the traffic study, because we own the site. They've been asked if this makes sense. They would like to at least take a look at it. I think the city should lead that from that perspective.
I disagree with it. but-
Mr. Weigel, please.
Mr. Phelan, how long would a master plan be good for? Because we know that we've master planned other things in the past. The price isn't going to go down. So if we do it now, take the Children's Museum out of it, say they never take that spot near the Alara Center. In my mind, it's still good to have that information, whether that's another facility that comes in there, whether that's another restaurant, whether it's a hotel. We're going to have to look at the traffic either way because at times the Alara Center, not the Alara Center, but some of the roads struggle to get traffic out after a large event. So to me, these are things we're going to look at anyways as far as the traffic patterns. But with this master plan, do you think that, say 5 years down the road, even if the Children's Museum isn't built in this space, that we're still going to have a good idea what could fit there, what we could add to that location?
I agree with you, Councilmember Weigel. We always anticipated there'd be additional development in this corner. Right now, what's come in front of us right now is the Children's Museum. We looked at, a commercial enterprise there that would add more of a kind of a interplay with the Alara Center and the indoor sports and aquatic, whether it's more of a game day restaurant, bar and restaurant, those sorts of things. The mayor and I have also talked about, would this place fit with outdoor fields? And we always know there's need for outdoor fields in our community, whether they're outdoor football fields or soccer, something that would be complementary. So whatever happens, we're going to make sure we need to plan for this corner from a development perspective.
I would just add one more thing. I wish we would have done this probably 20 years ago when we were looking at building the Alara Center. Because I think we would have saved everybody a lot of time and effort and maybe a little bit of cash as well. So I think getting it out of the way now and looking at everything now is going to be better for us in the long run versus coming back 10 years from now and paying significantly more for a master plan or a traffic study.
Thank you, Mr. Weigel. Any further comments? Mr. Kravami?
Yeah, just had one comment. I guess, part of the attraction of the Children's Museum was, I think about me personally and my family and how far we've traveled to go to a Children's Museum. And we'll go to places that aren't convenient because we're traveling to do that. It's a major draw, I'd say. And I really appreciated the location because it drew people off the highway into our community. They're driving down 32nd, they're stopping, they're engaging our community a little bit more than on 42nd, staying right off the highway. As you think about what makes sense for our community, this needs to be accessible, but at the same point, we're doing this to, bring more people and more traffic and more economic development into our community. So I do think the closer we put it to the highway, the more of a disservice it does, because I don't think people are gonna, I don't think many people are gonna drive by and just say, see it and then just happen to pull over. I feel like this is an event just to come to this place. And I think making it too accessible is actually something that we shouldn't consider. I know that there's lots of moving pieces, but it feels like a lot of things are just coming really quickly. And there's been so much work on that current site. And that's all. I just feel like this is really fast. And is this really the right thing for the city?
So I think those are good comments. Again, this is just creating an option so we know what maybe some of the cost savings are, what it's going to look like. I think there's benefits on both sides. I think that other site, you've got a little bit quieter of an area, certainly, draw them in. Here, you're going to have people that are going to be using the sports facility that could go to the museum in between events. That can certainly happen at the hockey rink too, but I would expect there's going to be more traffic, more flow through here. And as soon as you add something in another part of town, there's more traffic, then people are mad there's more traffic. So I don't think there's a perfect answer, one way or another. So I think this is good to at least take a look at it and see if it makes sense. And it doesn't mean that it's going to go here. It just means this is a potential, and let's see if we can all save some money. I think the city of Grand Forks does quite a lot for the betterment of the community, and we swallow hard, and we do some things. For example, this sports complex. City of Fargo is not involved in their sports complex. City of Grand Forks is in ours, so we can get done. Just like the Children's Museum. We can talk about it for 20 more years, or we can get it done. I guess that's the choice that we have. I guess I've always been one that's going to vote for getting it done. But okay, thank you. Mr. Veen, I'm done with my soapbox, so go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mayor. Hey, just a couple quick comments. I understand, is it true that we would be now, with the master plan, we would investigate this fully and have some understanding of both the pros and the cons of this site with the ability to compare that to the current site? Is that accurate?
You are correct. We're going to specifically look at this site, Councilmember Vian, for the pros and cons and what the impacts are. And I think we have some known knowns at the South Washington location, so this is really to compare and contrast that location.
Okay. And one other thing that just dawned on me when I was looking at this now, and I should have probably thought it before, clearly in the past, or maybe not so clearly in the past, there had been some discussion of some type of overpass over the interstate, potentially at 17th. And I would think that this type of master planning would clearly identify, as I looked at some of the location of the facility, whether that ever has any truth to it in the future, or if we can put that to rest. Because it really doesn't seem like there's I've never felt the importance of that, but I think that would be a piece that could be identified in the master plan too.
Mayor Bochensky and Councilmember Veen, I think it's important to really put to bed the overpass at this location. It's not in our CIP. It's been kind of put aside as it's not going to happen. But when we locate these facilities as part of the master plan, and if we are truly going to move it, close to the property line here, Mr. Vian, is we're going to eliminate an option for an overpass to occur there. And so I think that's part of the master plan decision making. So if someone doesn't come back, 10, 20, 30 years from now, is that a determination was made to incorporate this facility here and not to do the overpass, similar to what you see on University Avenue.
And I think, President Sandy, but I think, $120 million on an underpass and an interchange, granted, most of that's federal money. I think that's kind of putting to bed that overpass is probably not in the cards. President Sandy?
Mr. Lieberman, how did you come to selecting Bolt and Menk to do this study?
We looked at, first off, they're on our list of qualified consultants, so that's the first starting point. They're also part of the JLG team of subcontractors, and they have the ability to do both the traffic study and the master planning piece, which other members of the team do not have those in-house capabilities to do both. Those components inform each other as you look at different scenarios for traffic flow and how that could affect the master plan for that site. So they were determined to be the most qualified for this work. They also have done work on the Alerus Center events as far as the traffic study last year, looking at just the events portion of it. So they have a lot of data gathered, and there's some efficiencies there with continuing that effort here.
How do you know that $93,000 is a reasonable price?
That is an hourly not to exceed amount. It's not a lump sum, so some of that is their judgment as far as what do they feel as far as their expertise, and we have other traffic studies to compare that to ensure that that's a reasonable amount, not out of line.
Thank you. Mr. Phelan, at what dollar value do we require this to go out for an RFP?
Mayor Buchenski and Council President Sandy, that's a good question. I think with it's kind of a rule of thumb. I think with something that's, in this category, when it's in the tens of thousands or maybe even the lower hundreds of thousands, as Mr. Lieberman talked about, we generally take it off our 2-year selected list where we take a look at those firms as needed when projects come up. So I think this fits within that area, but certainly when we have larger projects, Mr. Lieberman comes up here with DOT projects that generally require in every project, but those are multi-million-dollar projects. But for these ad hoc things that come up, that's why we have that prearranged select or firms that enter their names, and so I think that was appropriate in this case.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. I think we should do away with the pre-selected list of firms to do this work and have everything go out for our RFP myself. Thank you.
Ms. Lunsky, please.
So, Mr. Weigel got me thinking, was there a traffic study done when the Alaris was built?
Councilmember Linsky, I think there's been multiple traffic studies on the Alaris Center. As Mr. Lieberman talked about, we did a recent update to it just because, we've had a few traffic issues. We're along the interstate, which is great. However, it's created some traffic inflow and outflow issues. So it's an ongoing thing that we've been updating over time, trying to make things better and better. And, thanks to a great police department, they're really at the center point of trying to get people and cars in and out of there. So we've done multiple at the time. I wasn't here when Mr. Veen was probably the project manager, and I suspect they did a master plan and looked at this site versus other sites and picked this site for various reasons to include, getting people in and out of off interstate and those sorts of things.
I'd be interested to hear Mr. Veen's thoughts, because I understand the Alaris has many issues. It'd be great if we could kind of look ahead.
Yeah. If I could add to that, Ms. Lunsky, absolutely, there was extensive traffic studies done for how you bring people up interstate, especially how you come down 42nd Street, the access off of Demers. But at that point in time, we didn't have all the development we have today. It was only, somewhat projected what it would be. So any traffic studies done today would now be able to be based on, first, the current built-up buildings and infrastructure around it, and I think I'd find it very interesting to see what is maybe changed and what hasn't since then, but at least it would get us update to what's currently being planned.
Any further comments?
Mayor, I'll move approval, staff recommendation.
Got a motion approved from Mr. Weigel. Do we have a second? Got a second from Ms. Lunsky.
I'll second.
Mr. V and Ms. Lunsky just beat you to it. Any further comment? Item 5.3. All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Aye. Motion carries 5-2 with Kavami and Osowski dissenting. All right, be done. 5:15.
5:15, Children's Museum update and agreement.
I have no comments. I'm ready to vote.
Got a motion to approve from President Sandy, second from Mr. Kavami. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Right? Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1 with Osowski dissenting. I believe that is it for action items. Move on to 6 information items.
6.1, investment portfolio summary as of April 30th.
Thank you. And item 7, approval of minutes and bills.
7.1 is the vendor list.
Motion to approve the vendor list. Got a motion from President Sandy, second from Ms. Osowski. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
And 7.2, minutes from January 2nd.
We're into 2024. Anybody agree through the minutes as is? Motion as is from Mr. President Sandy, second from Ms. Osowski. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. All right, item 8, citizen comments. Ms. Storstad, do we have any citizen comments of the general nature?
We do not.
All right, moving on to 9, city administrator comments. Mr. Phelan.
Mayor Buczynski, I'm going to defer to Mr. Gosted to give you an update on the EPIC and the Beacon by EPIC development.
All right, council members and mayor, the last meeting there was, we had a discussion about an amendment to the current agreement that existed and the requirements that the council would have for those requirements. I spoke with the attorney for EPIC on May 10th and then followed up with an email. I'll just briefly summarize what I told him and the requirements. And I also had communication with President Sandy and also the mayor and Mr. Phelan about these requirements in order for the city to consider going forward with the amendments. One of which was the completion of the plaza and both buildings by an extended date to October 1st. One of the conditions for the distribution of the $1.1 million, the $600,000 had to be deposited into an account, and those funds would have to be utilized for the public plaza. All other conditions with respect to that 1.1 would still need to be satisfied, so those didn't change. The conditions with respect to the mortgage certification that they'd have the resources to be able to finish the plaza, financing from their bank with funds to complete the plaza. All those requirements that were in the original agreement would still be in play. We also require a first lien, that first lien on the Building 3 parcel. After the plaza is completed and after we took title, one of the other requirements is that mortgage would continue to stay in place until that Building 3 is actually completed. That the requirement would be that the construction for that third building would have to be started on or before January 1 of 2030, and a CO for the entire building be issued by July 1 of 2032. And then if that didn't happen, repayment of that 1.1 would be required. And in that case, the requirement would have been that promissory note would have been executed by the developer for that 1.1, because really what it would become is a debt relationship with respect to that 1.1 until that building is completed. In light of some of the news reports that I saw over the last several days, I reached out to the attorney for EPIC to find out the status of the developer, status of their intention with respect to the plaza. I didn't get a response. I contacted him today. Did not get a response yet. But at this point, my recommendation is we continue to have ongoing discussions with EPIC. I do that through their attorney, also with their lender, Bank Forward, because they were part of the puzzle with respect to this plaza, and have those continuing ongoing conversations to determine, how they intend to proceed. I wouldn't recommend at this point to take any action with respect to the contract at this point, because there's, we're hearing reports. We don't know all the facts. I don't know all the information yet, and it's best just to because right now the city is out not a nickel of money that's been paid over to EPIC at this point. So we're in a fairly good position, and I would prefer to get to know what all the information is, what's going on, and find out what their intentions are. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Gostad? I think the only other thing I'd point out, I had Mr. Bass would pull up what our building permit revenue was. So we aren't out anything at this point. We have received about $139,000 in building permit revenue. You got something that was there, regardless of what happens in the future. You had the Townhouse Hotel that was there, that was on the tax rolls for $2 million. You got 2 buildings worth $30 million. We certainly hope whatever happens, that there'll be the potential to either assign it to another developer, or we'll continue to collect the roughly $500,000 annually from those two buildings, which is in first position above any other debt obligations. Do I have all that correct, Mr. Gosted?
The property taxes are always the first thing that get paid, and they have a priority over everything else.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Gosted. We will hopefully hear more and not have to learn everything through the news. But Mr. Kavani?
Just a brief question. So had we approved this at the original presentation, so back a month ago, where would we be sitting today? I mean, would we have already potentially paid them the beautification dollars?
No, because all those conditions still would have had to have been satisfied, and none of them at this point have been, including, certification from the contractor that they'd have the resources, their lending had been closed, they've got the money in the bank to do the work, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Phelan, do you have any other comments, or is Mr. Gosted taking your place today? All right, he was shorter-winded than you usually are, so we'll take that. All right. We'll move on to mayor and council member comments. Mr. Weigel, any comments this evening?
Nope.
Ms. Osowski, any comments?
No, Mayor.
All right, who do we got here? Ms. Lunsky? Mr. Kavami?
No, thank you.
Mr. Veen?
Nope, no, thank you.
All right, Vice President Weber, any comments?
No, thank you, Mayor.
And President Sandy, any comments?
Mr. Ware, the city did a great job of cleanup week. I'd like to send my gratitude out. To the best of my knowledge, nobody got hurt. Everyone seems very satisfied. I've heard from lots of our citizens that they really appreciate all the hard work, so thanks for that.
Good to hear, and I don't have much today. Just want to thank everybody, and we'll have an extra couple hours tonight that we don't normally get on a Monday, so we'll leave it at that, and I'll be looking at item 10, or item 11 now, motion to adjourn.
I move adjournment.
Motion to adjourn from Ms. Osowski, second from Mr. Weigel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Right.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.